Shit, girl. You are super up.
On today's episode, we're making Trinket's bear claws. The recipe calls for almond paste, but I wanted to make my own. I couldn't find any in the store near me, and I didn't like the preservatives in it. Turns out this is actually very simple, so you're just going to take some almond flour and powdered sugar and blitz that together until it's evenly combined. Once that's combined, we're going to add salt, 1 egg white, and 1.5 teaspoons of almond extract. You'll see that it comes together really quickly into a ball, and I'm just going to wrap this in some plastic wrap and let it chill and solidify in the fridge. This keeps for about 2 weeks, and it can be used in a variety of things, and it was so easy. I will literally never buy almond paste again. This recipe makes 14 ounces of almond paste. And we're going to go ahead now and let that chill. While that's chilling, we're going to work on our puff pastry. For puff pastry, you want to weigh everything. You don't want to scoop everything because, flour could get compacted and there could be more. Baking, especially when it comes to really delicate things like puff pastry, is all about ratios. So making sure that things are properly measured. Take your time and measure them. Sift your flour so that you don't get lumps or there's no clumps of flour in there. Those things are really important for prep. All right, let's go ahead and get our puff pastry going. So we're going to what is called cut the butter into the flour. We're basically just gonna combine that with our fingers, really use our hands to integrate that and make it resemble like a wet sand texture, similar to how you would a pie crust. Don't forget to add the salt. I almost did. But the key with this is like ice water. You want to use ice water. Spilled a little bit there, whoops. And what I found was really helpful, because I did a test batch that didn't turn out too well, was really, really working the dough, really, really kneading the dough. Because I kneaded the dough originally for like 5-7 minutes. No, it was not long enough. I kneaded the dough this time for like 15 minutes and got pretty aggressive with it. And it helped in the lamination process because the dough was more malleable and flexible. There was more gluten development. It was also able to hold itself together a bit better. Also, you'll hear me sniffing. I made this while I was sick because the sick part of my brain thought it was a great idea to make puff pastry for like the first time ever. And you'll see I whack it on the counter. Something I do when I make bread, actually. It's pretty helpful in gluten development. Do that a couple times. It's nice.
Much better.
Now, when I put my finger in, it didn't spring back as quickly as I wanted, so I needed it again more. I probably needed this for 13 to 15 minutes. And I actually ended up cutting this in half. I made a double batch so that I would have enough for 2 10 by 12 sheets of puff pastry.
How much is this way? Alright, about 860 and 860. Did I do that? Yes!
Well done, Sick Hillary. Well done. Good job.
Where'd you go?
Yeah, if you couldn't tell, I was delirious. I'm singing Cotton Eye Joe in the kitchen. It was that, and also Low by Flo Rida, but I was changing the words to They See Me Kneading My Puff Pastry. The delirium had set in. I had a fever, folks. I was sick. Alright, we're moving on to the butter block for the puff pastry. Now this is 2 ingredients. It's all-purpose flour and butter. You might think, why all-purpose flour? Well, I'll tell you. The all-purpose flour serves really just one purpose, and that's to help the butter be malleable when you are incorporating it into the dough for lamination. Now, lamination is a long process, which is documented later in this video. But basically, you take the block of butter and you put it on the dough, and then you fold the dough around the butter and you roll it out. Now, if your butter is really cold and there's no flour in there, it's going to be very difficult to roll out and it'll break. With the flour, it's easier for you to make those layers in your puff pastry. So that is what that's for. It makes it malleable and helps keep it soft. So when you roll it out, you're not, creating little shards of butter. And we're just gonna let those chill in the fridge. Friends, I was so sick. I apologize for the delay in uploading. I know it's a full week later, but I needed to sleep. Anyway, through the magic of editing, it's the next day! Yay! So we're gonna go ahead and prepare for lamination. So what we're going to do is we're gonna take the ball of the puff pastry dough and we're going to cut a cross into it and gently pull and prod 4 corners out so it kind of looks like a little X. And then we're going to roll those out while still leaving a little, like a little mound in the center. That is where our butter is going to rest. So we want to make sure that this is nice and rolled out. Careful not to do too much though, because we don't want it to be tough. Also, we need this to be cold, so we need to work quickly. If it starts to warm up, you put it back in the fridge. And then we're gonna take our cold butter block and put that and wrap it in the dough. Make sure all the corners are nice and sealed up, and we're gonna start rolling. Again, gently as possible because the butter is very malleable and we don't want it to pop out. That we could run the risk of ending up with something more like a brioche with an enriched dough. We want layers. We don't want it incorporated. We want it layered. So when we bake it and it's cold, it puffs. So how this works is you roll it out and then you fold it into thirds and then you roll it out again. I think the goal is something around like 526 layers or 626 layers. But essentially you do this process 3 times. So we're going to turn it and we're going to fold over. Don't worry, it looks messy now. It'll turn out great, I promise. And then all we're gonna do is just roll it back out, and then once this is rolled, we're just gonna pop this back in the fridge for like half an hour to 45 minutes. Make sure it's nice and chilled so that when we work with it again, we're not heating the butter up too much. So again, this is I just pulled it back out of the fridge, redusted the countertop. It will get a little sticky because this is very butter heavy, right? So you're gonna work it with your hands. It's gonna warm up a little bit, so some butter will make itself present. That's okay. Just lightly flour and then dust. So again, we're gonna roll this out and we're going to put this into thirds. There you go. Good job. We're gonna rotate that sideways and then we're going to roll it out again. That's the first set of folds. And the second set of folds. And then again, once that's completed, we're just gonna let it rest in the fridge. It needs to be cold. It needs to be cold. I'm not sure how many times I'm gonna say that here, but the thing that I remembered from watching like all those Great British Bake Off or Hell's Kitchen or whatever, is that whenever there's critiques about puff pastry, it's because they did not keep their dough cold enough. So we're going to saran wrap this and we're going to let this sit in the fridge overnight, let it rest, stop working it, and let it chill so that it's nice and cold in the morning. And of course, we're gonna name our dough for good luck. We have test batch, and then we had puff the magic pastry, And then we had Snoop pastry. For obvious reasons, I feel. Alright, so now we have to prepare the filling for the bear claws. So we're actually going to take the butter and some sugar and some almond paste, and we're gonna combine this all in a KitchenAid until everything is evenly incorporated. At that point, we're going to add in an egg white. We're gonna keep the yolk separate for brushing the tops. And mix that in. Along with a little bit of flour, some salt, and some vanilla extract. Once it's combined, we're going to scrape it out of the KitchenAid, and we're gonna just put it in a bowl to set aside as the filling for the bear claws. So like I said, this makes two 10 by 12 sheets. We're going to go ahead and split this in half and roll them out to 10 inches by 12 inches. Now once you roll these out, this is something that I did. There was a tip I read. There's a French pastry chef online who mentioned this, that you want to trim the edges of your puff pastry after it's rested, because if you don't, there's tension in the dough on the edges that might impede your pastry's ability to puff, right? So if you cut off the edge, then you're giving your pastry a better chance of success at puffing. So I'm just gonna roll this out, and then I'm gonna take a pizza cutter and trim off the edges, and then I'm actually just going to roll it out a little bit more because, you know, it shrunk just a smidge when I cut those off. Also, I'm apparently like really bad at rolling things into a square. They're, you know, technically I have a hexagon here, but I don't think it matters. I've said it a million times before, and I will say it again. We're gonna chill our pastry and let it rest for a little bit. Apologies for the jump scare in the kitchen counter. I forgot I was not recording, so then I had to. Thankfully, I had the ability to film this part, but we're gonna just give these a little stretch. When you put them back in the fridge, they contract just a little bit, totally normal. But we're gonna take 2 heaping tablespoons of the almond mixture that we had made earlier, and set that on the long side of one of the, you know, on each piece of the pastry dough. And then what we're going to do is make sure there's a little bit of a gap around the edges, because we're going to take our brush and dip it in the egg yolk that we had set aside and go all the way around the edges. And this is going to help the pastry seal itself shut. We're also going to, you know, close it up and crimp it, but it helps kind of like a glue while it's baking. So we're just gonna crimp that, use my fingers, and then I like to go in with a fork. I think it's cute. I also think it's thorough. I highly recommend using a fork for crimping your pastry products, your empanadas and other things. Yeah. So once that's done, we're gonna set that aside. On the pastry sheet, I have a aluminum sheet lined with parchment paper. I also did a test and found that parchment paper worked better than like a silicone Silpat baking sheet. Don't know why, I just like it on the parchment paper better. And then for the bear claw effect, we're gonna cut 4 little notches on each pastry and just gently arch the pastry so it looks like it forms little toes. And I don't know why I started on the second one and on the end, but then we're gonna brush the tops with egg yolk and then top with some freshly cut almonds and turbinado sugar. Make sure just to press in the almonds though so that they don't just fall off. It works as a glue, but it helps when you just press it in a little gently. And then just dust with turbinado sugar.
Into the fridge.
And then we're gonna let it rest in the fridge. Now we're gonna put these, after they have a chance to chill in the fridge and your oven preheats, preheat the oven to 400, and we're gonna bake these for 25 minutes, flipping once halfway through. So here at around the 12-minute mark, just gonna swap them. Once these are done, you'll know they're done when they're nice and golden and they have puffed quite a bit. You'll see these have grown significantly in size. We're just gonna let them cool and come to room temperature. Once they're cool, you're gonna make your glaze. You can make it thicker or thinner depending on preferences, but it's really easy. It's 2 ingredients, it's powdered sugar and milk. And then once it's completed, you just kind of drizzle it on the bear claws and it's delicious. Now, these were so popular with my friends and family. The entire thing was gone in like 20 minutes. I had a whole bunch of people over and they were so good. Final thoughts, I think I would cut back on the amount of sugar and the almond paste filling from the recipe itself. But my puff pastry turned out so good. Look, I know I could have just used the box stuff, but I really want to do these recipes justice, and I feel like a homemade, you just can't top it. But these were amazing. I'll definitely make them again. They're definitely a once in a while treat. They're also very labor intensive, and I think making them while I was sick was not the smartest decision. But that being said, please enjoy the blooper reel after this. But before that, please feel free to like and subscribe and ring the bell for notifications and comment down below what you would like to see if you have any questions. But yeah, thanks so much, adventurers, for tuning in, and I'll see you later. Bye.
Grams. They puffed! Maybe it's the delirium. There are good things to be anal about. I feel like lumps is one of them. What the hell is that? I filtered you! A butter block, you say? Yes, Hillary, a butter block. Making puff pastry. Maybe it's not for sick people.
Don't die, please.
I'm fine. But it's too late. Oh my gosh, you know what? It'd be really helpful if I added in the salt. Oh boy, it is warm in here. Agua! Baking is about the ratios. Gonna get your fingers dirty. Gonna get your fingers dirty. Gonna get your fingers dirty. They see me kneading my puff pastry. Getting all my fingers dirty. In my kitchen late at night cause I'm crazy. Making it cause I'm crazy. Cause I can't do anything simply. Cause I have the extra gene. La 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 la. Something something, hands are sticky. Yes, tired brain, yes. We did it. I know they don't look even, but they do weigh the same. Well, that's a little suggestive.